is Tuesday, September 28th. We'll explain what has to happen before the end of this week to avoid a government shutdown and what's really at stake. Also, R. Kelly found guilty in court, what his punishment could look like after decades of accusations, and when President Reagan's shooter could be a free man. Plus, where Ford's first brand new factories in 50 years are going up, why a planned Instagram Kids app is now on hold, and TikTok's major milestone. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Time is running out. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are scrambling to get an important bill passed by the end of this week. If they don't, the government will shut down on Friday. And if that happens, hundreds of thousands of federal workers will be furloughed, or in other words, they'll be sent home without pay. Also, food assistance programs like school meals and food stamps will be at risk. Social Security payments could be late, museums and national parks will close, and more. But negotiations are still underway to avoid all that. Democrats brought a bill to the Senate yesterday that would have done two things. One, keep the government funded for the next couple of months, and two, raise the debt ceiling. But every Senate Republican voted against it as a protest. They're upset that Democrats have been working without them on other massive spending bills. For example, the $3.5 trillion proposal that would go towards social programs like healthcare, childcare, climate change, and more. Top Republican lawmakers say if the Democrats can do all that by themselves, then they can figure out the debt ceiling by themselves too. So why does the debt ceiling matter? The Treasury Secretary says if lawmakers do not raise it, the government might not be able to pay its bills on time starting as early as next month. The U.S. government has never defaulted on its debt obligations before, and if it does now, it could disrupt financial markets all around the world. But the funding measure to avoid a government shutdown is even more urgent than that. So now Democrats may split up the government funding and the debt limit vote into two separate bills in the hopes of getting them both passed. Leaders in both parties say they do want to fund the government and prevent a debt default, but they're still split on exactly what political maneuver they should use to make that happen. And for now, the clock is ticking. A multi-platinum R&B singer is now a convicted sex trafficker. A jury found R. Kelly guilty of being a ringleader in a criminal enterprise that recruited women and underage girls for sex, forced labor, and child pornography. He's faced these kinds of accusations for decades, but this is the first time Kelly has actually been criminally punished for them. During the last 6 weeks at the trial, the court heard graphic testimony from dozens of accusers, including many who have never shared their stories publicly. Jurors also saw several videos. Some of them appeared to show the singer assaulting a woman and threatening her life. The defense tried to paint the accusers as opportunists and obsessive fans who were lying about the abuse. Kelly's lawyers also said the sex was consensual. But in the end, the jury believed the accusers. R. Kelly will be sentenced in May. He faces anywhere from 10 years to life in prison. The man who tried to assassinate former President Ronald Reagan will be free next year. That's what a judge decided during a hearing this week. John Hinckley Jr. shot President Reagan, a police officer, a Secret Service agent, and the press secretary back in 1981. At the time, everyone survived the shooting, but the press secretary was permanently disabled and died from his injuries in 2014. Hinckley was found not guilty by reason of insanity. He was committed to a mental hospital for about 3 decades before he was released under restrictions in 2016. At that point, he went to go live with his mother and had to follow certain rules. But the thing is, his mom died a couple of months ago, so he's now living on his own. Also, his therapist is retiring at the start of next year. So the Justice Department is going to monitor him for the next 9 months. And if he's able to handle all those changes and stay mentally stable in that time, he'll be fully released. And that means no one will be restricting his movements or internet activity. Already, Hinckley has been studied by psychologists and other experts who say his mental illness has been in remission for a while now, and he does not pose a risk to the public. But after this week's hearing, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation pushed back. It released a statement saying, quote, "We believe John Hinckley is still a threat to others, and we strongly oppose his release." To be continued. It's being called a rare moment of ethical controversy at the Federal Reserve. 2 top officials who have been criticized over stock market trades stepped down this week. They both did quite a bit of trading last year when the central bank was spending trillions of dollars to stabilize financial markets and boost the economy. Critics say because of those trades, the 2 officials could have profited from the Fed's actions. And the Federal Reserve chair actually ordered a review of the central bank's ethics rules in light of these concerns. He's expected to testify on Capitol Hill about this today. But now he'll be able to respond to lawmakers' questions by saying the 2 officials have resigned. The Fed could still face pressure to allow an outside investigation into whether the two officials or anyone else traded because of inside information. All right, we have much more news still ahead, but first, this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Is something stopping you from achieving your goals? I've had moments in my life where I realized fear or at other times burnout was preventing me from doing my best work and being my happiest self. But when you get to the core of what's going on, you can do something about it. And BetterHelp wants to help. BetterHelp will assess your needs and help match you with your own licensed professional therapist. And if you don't like your match, you can easily switch counselors until you find the right one for you. Then you connect in a safe, private, and convenient online environment. It's also up to you whether you communicate via text, a phone call, a video session, or all of the above. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. And of course, anything you share is confidential. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/newsworthy. Join more than 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, betterhelp.com/newsworthy. The top Democrat and top Republican in Washington, D.C. actually agreed on something this week: the importance of COVID-19 vaccines. President Biden and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell got their booster shots. They're both eligible now since they're both senior citizens. And they used the occasion to urge all Americans to get vaccinated no matter what their politics are. They told people to also get booster shots when they're eligible. Remember, a third dose of the Pfizer vaccine is now available for all Americans 65 and older, as well as others who work in a high-risk environment or have pre-existing conditions. That is, as long as they got their first 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine at least 6 months ago. The FDA is still considering whether to offer boosters for the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines. There's a new warning about fake prescription pills. Federal officials say they could be laced with deadly amounts of fentanyl. The Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, says the fake pills are made to look like drugs like Vicodin, Xanax, and Adderall, and they're typically sold online. Already, the DEA has seized more than 9.5 million counterfeit pills so far this year. That's more than the past 2 years combined. 2 out of every 5 pills that was laced with fentanyl contained enough of the drug to be deadly. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that can be 50 times more powerful than heroin. Officials say fentanyl is the main reason the U.S. has seen a spike in overdose deaths. They say drug traffickers have also been putting methamphetamine into the pills, so officials are reminding people it's important to only get medications from licensed pharmacists. Facebook is hitting the brakes on Instagram Kids, at least for now. The social media giant says it's pausing its work on the new app, which is supposed to be for kids younger than 13 years old. Facebook, which owns Instagram, has faced a lot of pushback over this app even before its launch. Critics say kids already spend too much time looking at screens and have raised concerns about privacy and the threat of online predators. But Instagram says a kids version is necessary because young kids are already online anyway. And this way, they can have an app with age-appropriate content, strong parental controls, and no ads. The social media giant still plans to release the app eventually. But for right now, the plan is to work a little more with parents, experts, and regulators to talk about their concerns and try to explain how the product could be valuable. Also in the social media world, TikTok says it's reached a major milestone. The video sharing app now has more than 1 billion monthly active users. TikTok has been growing quickly over the last 2 years. It was the most downloaded app in the world in 2020 and is on track to repeat that title this year. And TikTok's success has inspired a lot of copycats. For example, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube have since launched their own similar short-form video platforms. Ford is making another big push for electric vehicles. It's spending billions of dollars to build 3 new battery factories and an electric truck plant in the U.S. by the year 2025. These are the first facilities Ford is building from scratch in more than 50 years. They'll create 11,000 jobs over the next 4 years. 2 of the battery factories are being built in Kentucky. The third one and the electric truck plant will be in Tennessee. Once they're up and running, they'll work to produce more than 1 million electric vehicles a year. Other big automakers are also pouring billions into battery and electric car plants. For example, GM says it too plans to build 4 battery plants in the U.S. over the next few years. And Toyota says it's building similar factories around the world. You may be asked about your voting status today. That's because it's National Voter Registration Day. The nonpartisan holiday started 9 years ago and is always observed on the 4th Tuesday in September. The idea is to raise awareness about where people can register and to reach people who may not have planned to vote at all. Last year, volunteers from all political parties set a new record by registering about 1.5 million voters through in-person drives and virtual events. There are all kinds of events taking place today, too. You can learn more, find what's happening in your area or online, and of course, register to vote at nationalvoterregistrationday.org. We've posted a link in our episode notes as well. That's it for the main news today, but now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Noom. We've all felt that pressure to fit other people's expectations, whether it's about career, family, or appearance. But not worrying about what other people think or do and finding whatever works for you can be so freeing. So that's why Noom wants you to know you don't have to be on a strict diet or follow the rigorous gym schedules you might see on Instagram to look and feel your best. Noom uses a psychology-based approach to find a healthier balance that fits into your lifestyle. And that's the approach that tends to lead to real long-term sustainable results that you want. In fact, 80% of Noom users finish the program, and more than 60% have stuck with their goals for at least a year. No rules with Noom, just the knowledge and wisdom to help you build healthier habits. It's meant to be empowering, not stress-inducing. All you need is a daily 10-minute check-in. So sign up for your trial and get psychology-based support and motivation to reach your goals. Just go to Noom, Noom.com/newsworthy. Again, you can sign up for your trial at Noom, Noom.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. Today's trivia question is, what is the most common letter in the English language? You can answer the question and play along on Instagram. Just find us at NewsworthyPod and just look for the trivia quiz in our Instagram stories today. And later on this week, keep an eye out for a giveaway we'll be posting about. Be sure to follow NewsworthyPod so you don't miss it. As for last week's trivia question, which country is known as the land of white elephants? The answer is Thailand. There are a few reasons for this. White elephants are considered sacred, holy animals in that part of the world. They represent royal power in Thailand, and the ruling family still owns several of them. White elephants are not really a unique elephant species. They just have exceptionally light skin or they're albino. Historians say in the past, Thai kings gave white elephants as gifts to people they did not like. The idea was that person would go bankrupt because it's very expensive to care for such a big animal. And because of their holy status, the elephants could never be put to work or given away. People were just forced to accept the gift. By the way, this is apparently what inspired so-called white elephant parties, where people often exchange goofy gifts. All right, thank you for turning to the Newsworthy to get your news each day and for sharing the show. As always, we'll be back with more tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.